We're on the inside of the F750 cab, and the reason why I'm kind of showing you this is because I want you to see that cross member there and the gap in it. What I'm going to do is, this video is going to start out with me just doing a little prep work on the cab, removing the lights in preparation for getting some of these holes taken care of that they put in the roof of the truck for antennas, lights and sirens, stuff like that. I showed you this cross member in the video clip, but it really was poor lighting and it didn't really come out, and I just wanted you to see it in good lighting. What they did was bent that cross member down to put a piece of plywood in there to stiffen up the roof to mount the siren light combination to it. So the clips will show me doing that work. But why I wanted to bring you in here to begin with was to show you that cross brace and better lighting, but to also explain something else. There's a lot of things that I could be doing to this cab in preparation for putting it back on after we get the engine and transmission mounted, but there's so many factors that I don't know that it's kind of hard to do it. This floor pan, to me, given measurements and taking some seat measurements of some seats that are available, they will fit in there, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get those seats that will fit in there. So this floor pan may have to be modified, be lowered a little bit, so that the seat or seats that I get will fit in there. But then again, I don't know where. I can't do that, and I could just go ahead and lower it and stick any seat in here. Lowering it would allow any seat to fit in there, but I don't know whether I can lower it because I don't know where right now that transmission and engine is going to end up. I can't lower it if the engine or the transmission is going to be so high that it would create a problem with it. Then what I might end up having to do is create some kind of a hump in there to compensate for it. Lower the sides enough to get the seat to fit in, but then again keep enough room for the transmission, the floor pan to crown around the transmission. So there's just a lot of things that have yet to be figured out after it gets kind of test fitted. The engine transmission gets test fitted into the frame and figure out what the relationship with the cab is going to be to that test fit. But anyway, so this is consider this the intro to part 21. As I said in part 20, there's going to be some slow work because they still have the engine and transmission, like I said. That will be taking place next week. I will probably be getting a hold of them, but then again, there's going to be a wrinkle that's going to be discussed in it. It's already been discussed in a shop update video of mine, but it's going to be discussed further into this video. So let this be the intro to part 21, and it's going to start off with some cab work and progress from there. Okay, so I've got the cab on a skid, and what I've done is just moved it over in between the machine area and the welding bench over here. Going to start stripping some of this stuff off. Now these lights are good, they work. The problem is these seals. These seals are just weather hardened and cracking, and I know they're going to leak. and probably trying to find them things is near impossible. So let me take it apart. I've got to get, let me just pick you up here a little bit so you can see. There was something there that they plugged. This is where the old antenna was, and that circle spot in the center is where the light siren unit was. But I want to remove all of the bolts and stuff out of it, the antenna thing out of it. It almost looks like where this one plug was, that the roof is dimpled down a little bit. But let me get that out and start taking care of that stuff. Try and figure out what I'm going to do for lights and stuff. Running lights at the top. Actually, it's kind of different than what I thought it was. There's a piece of rubber down here. This is a piece of plastic that just kind of looks like that. When I say looks like that, it's weather checked. There used to be like a piece of flexible rubber around the bottom of that light unit, and it just kind of crumbled apart. It had hardened and cracked and crumbled apart when we took it apart. I might actually this is plastic, and you can tell that it's weathered pretty bad, but I'm not sure that it isn't salvageable, because this is the rubber part from the truck, and the rubber, because it was concealed under that plastic, looks to be in fairly good shape. What I'm going to do is pull them off. I'm going to pull them off and set them aside. I'll put them back together as a unit, and just set them aside and determine at a later time whether I'm going to reuse them or put new ones on it. But yeah, again, the thought process of what you're going to do with it. I'm going to take a handheld. So I removed all of the running lights off of the top, that old antenna mount thing. And what I've done is taken all of that stuff and put it in a box. The stuff from the cab, the lights are down in there. I'll put it all in a box, and I'll put it up on the shelves until I determine what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back through. There was this piece of plywood was, hopefully there's enough light in there for you to be able to see it, that cross member that's up in there that kind of supports the roof framing. That thing, this piece of plywood was tucked up underneath there to kind of add support for underneath that light siren type of thing. And I had to take it out, so I'll probably get something to, you see that they, hopefully you can see that they bent it to get that piece of plywood in there. But anyway, so I'm going to take care of these holes that aren't going to be needed in here, try and bend that support back up into place so that it kind of gives the roof some added stability. And I'm not, without that plywood in there, I'm afraid that the wind going over that thing might kind of, well, I don't know. I think that metal is too stiff that it wouldn't I wouldn't get that effect on it. Not sure whether you can see that or not, but they did bend it down. So what I'll do is, I've got a porta power, and I'll just try and press that thing back up into there. I'm not sure if I could spot weld it on back up in there, but I'll work something out. But anyways, there's that. It's in the box going up on the shelf, and I can, free time when I get some material, start doing some hole patching, hole repair, a little body work on the cab. Let me show you what I did here. This is a head off of the A3. This stud had broken off, so what I did is I took a 1/2-inch nut, because this is a metric stud. I took a 1/2-inch nut, put it over it, and welded it onto it. Then what I did is took the torch and heated the port on the manifold. And I'm getting it to move a little bit. What I've been doing is kind of spraying it with PB Blaster. Yeah, I should have saw that coming. Okay, that didn't work. I thought it was turning in the threads. Apparently what it was doing is just the bolts. So now I've got 3 of them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take the handheld here off of the thing. No gimbal. So I've got 3 of them. 1, 2, 3 that are broken. What I'll probably do is take it over to the mill, and it'll probably be the, sorry, shake. Probably be, that really annoyed me. It'll probably be the horizontal mill, because I can set the head down flat onto the bed of the mill and get a good flat surface. I could probably take it to the vertical mill and use angle plates to do it. I don't know. That's an option also. Let me bring you back for it. Okay, as part of the Ford Haul Trucks build series, I'm showing you the frame. There's a couple of things that are going on this week. So I'm showing you the frame because I finally got a hold of the blasting guy, and he has, we have set up a time where he's going to come over and power blast this thing. Now the issue is I'm not going to be here. I'm going to have my grandson over here, and he's going to take the frame out of or outside, and it's going to be blasted out in the parking lot out there. Some kind of a water blasting system that is less invasive as far as dust and medium cleanup goes, because it kind of washes away with the water. That back parking lot is pitched down towards the railroad track, so hopefully it'll just go down there. Now, when I say I'm not going to be here, the reason why I'm not going to be here is I have a haul, but the part of the haul is I have sold the original engine out of the truck, the 391 big block Ford V8 engine that was in the truck. I've sold. So I am going to be taking that down to North Carolina, and during that same trip I have to bring something back to the Buffalo area, a car back to the Buffalo area from Tennessee. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be gone. Well, when the guy comes over here, he was only available on Monday and Tuesday, and I've got to take the engine down on Monday. So he was only available those 2 days. If we couldn't get him over here to do that during that 2-day window, it would have been weeks before he would have been able to get over here and do the rest of the frame or be able to blast the frame. So that's why I'm going to have my grandson come over here and have him do it. And what I'm going to hopefully do is have him videotape him blasting it, or the process of the blasting, and be able to show you the video of that, and how it was done and how it came out as it's being done. So there's that. I'll bring you back for more. You know, the last clip I said that there was a couple of things going on, that I had my grandson coming over here on Monday to do this while I was making that haul. And I'm not showing you the frame because we're going to be discussing that again. The things that are going on, that grandson that's coming over on Monday is getting married tomorrow, and I'm standing up. So we've kind of been really tied up all week long with getting stuff in preparation for the wedding, tuxes, stuff like that. Everything's been going on. So, you know, and there's a lot of sideline activities that go along with it. So that's kind of what the things that have been going on. Got to stop sighing. But anyways, why I'm kind of back over here again is one of the other things that I'm always thinking about something with this truck. You know, I mean, not all of the time, but when my thought process are on this truck, it's on varying aspects of it, and a number of varying aspects of it. And we talked about the cab and the complications with maybe having to modify the cab and not knowing until I get the engine in there. One of the other things that I'm got to be thinking about, and this is not the rear end that's going to be staying in there, but it's the same concept that I'm going to be discussing right now. One of the things that I've got to come up with is a parking brake. And that parking brake has to be independent of, it cannot be incorporated into the main braking system of the truck. The parking brake has to be independent of the braking system of the truck. So the parking brakes in trucks now could be incorporated in the differential, or incorporated in a different disc in the wheels, and or a drum in the wheel where you have disc brakes in the rear drive axles. There could be a smaller drum in there for the parking brake. But one of the things that I've got to come up with is a parking brake. And the parking brake on this old truck, well, actually there was two of them. That original transmission that had the PTO on it had a parking brake on it, but they disconnected that. They left the lever up in the cab and disconnected that parking brake and incorporated a parking brake into the driveline disconnect for the PTO. So someplace, somehow, I've got to find a parking brake that I can incorporate into the driveline. Yeah, it's going to have to be in the driveline. It's got to be in the driveline someplace. So I've got to come up with a parking brake that's incorporated in the driveline, and I'm not really sure. I think some rear axles on larger trucks had a parking brake maybe incorporated at the universal, or right after the universal, before it goes into the differential. I'm not sure if I would be able to incorporate something like that on that new axle. What I was kind of thinking is, and I don't know whether any trucks had a parking brake kind of incorporated in a carrier bearing, where the drive shaft splits and it goes at different angles on the truck. But that's one of the other things that I've got to keep in mind, and I kind of ask different people at varying times, and you know, my response to it, or their response to it, is that they've seen a bunch of different things, but they don't know what I could use to incorporate it into my truck. So I just kind of want to share those couple of things with you. This week has really been hectic. You know, that engine and transmission are still tied up at that down there. I've got to get them probably next week, but I've also got that haul that I've got to do on Monday. Probably won't be back until Tuesday, so it'll probably be Wednesday, Thursday before I be able to get down there to check on the status of the engine and transmission, get that back. By that time, this frame should be blasted, and we should be able to get that engine transmission bolted together and kind of sat in there, not sat in there, but slung in there off of the gantry crane and engine hoist to mock up the fit up for motor mounts, and if any modifications are going to have to be made to the cab. But just the ongoing process of this whole thing will bring you back. Hit that like button, guys. Subscribe. Share the video if you can too.